Hi everyone, I hope you are all doing well. The purpose of this video is to provide a quick overview of our third learning module. For this module, we will be studying whether gifted education is a right or a privilege. Now, to recap, in our first two modules, we discovered some various definitions of giftedness. Hopefully, you were able to combat some potential assumptions about what gifted really meant, and particularly through our second module on the characteristics of gifted students, I hope that you have a more broadened concept of what are the common characteristics of gifted children, and that you're starting to really keep those potentially stereotypical views in check. I love to grade this gifted child case study and see you guys really starting to apply the content. So, looking forward to looking at your responses in that assignment. So, we've established a good foundation. You know who the gifted are, you know their common characteristics. Some of those characteristics should surprise us. And now, in our third learning module, we're going to take kind of a step back and consider, are we ensuring that these students receive the gifted services that they need? So if you consider the Marlin definition of gifted students, they require, keyword require, differentiated educational services. So we have a federal definition of giftedness that states that students who are gifted require differentiated services in order to reach their full potential. That sounds wonderful, right? Now, this week, we're really shifting into kind of nitty gritty policy. How are we making sure, or are we making sure, that we are really instilling these quality services so that all students have the right to gifted education? So, in terms of this case study, you're reading about a family that is fairly well off, meaning financially, they are able to provide a private education option for their students. Both of these students have some clear characteristics of giftedness. It definitely seems that they would benefit from gifted education services. And luckily, they have a family that is both educated about what giftedness is, but also they have the financial means to send them to a private school. So within the case study, you're reading about, in like my opinion, kind of a blue sky version of gifted education. It's this idealistic opportunity that sounds wonderful and will definitely be ensuring that these two children are able to reach their full potential. The discussion board question is a little different this week because there's two components. So your first question is, do all students have a right to the gifted education services that are described in this case study? You have to really challenge yourself here because as teachers or future teachers, of course they have a right. We love our students, we want them to succeed, but that's not this question. The question is not, do you think they have the right? The question is, based on your resources, based on your review of the federal law, review of various different state laws, and your review of the content in the library, do students actually have the right to these gifted services? So you may be answering in a way that bothers you, and that's okay. This is not your opinion. This discussion board is all about what is actually happening. So, number one, do students have the right to gifted education, like the family described in this case study? Your second question is, who is responsible for providing these gifted education services? In that case, is it a federal requirement, state? Is it up to the teachers, the administrators, the parents potentially? So we have this kind of, again, blue sky scenario going on of gifted services. And your second question is, well, who's required to provide those services? I will tell you up front, I think this is the hardest discussion post to write because you really have to distance yourself from your personal opinion. We all most likely believe, yes, we want our students to have the right to gifted services, but you really need to critically examine the library content. What does the law say? How are we holding various individuals responsible to provide these gifted services? So this is a discussion board in which I need to see you citing a lot of evidence to prove what you're saying. This is not an opinion piece. This is you really systematically reviewing the content that I have provided for you. That being said, I want you to know, looking forward to next week, your application assignment will allow you to give your opinion. So for this week, I want you to critically examine what is actually happening to ensure our students are receiving gifted services and tell it like it is. You may not like it. Next week, you'll have the opportunity to shift more into advocating for we really need to serve these gifted students. So again, your assignment for the week is to review the case study, carefully review your content in the library. I'll be looking for your initial discussion board post on Friday and your responses by Sunday evening. You guys have been doing a really good job with your discussion board posts, so keep up the good work. Challenge yourselves to critically examine this material, and don't be afraid to pose questions that bother you. I will be a little more interactive in this discussion post because I think it does provide a lot of questions. Sometimes I like to step back and let you guys argue with each other, but for this case study, I do like to take a little bit more of an active role. Again, your only assignment this week is that discussion board, so initial post by Friday, and then by Sunday evening, I'll be looking for your responses. Before I check out for this week, I do want to let you know that I am working hard to catch up with some grading. This is a really busy time for professors in terms of some things that we do that are more administrative, and I've just had some personal things going on, so I want to say it like it is, that I fell a little behind in grading, and I want to do my best to provide you good feedback, and we'll be doing that as soon as possible this week. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop by. I've had a really great time getting to know several of you face to face, and would encourage you guys talking about that with me as well. Have a great week.